The village was already awake when the screaming started. At first, people thought it was a child. Then someone said it sounded like an animal. By the time I arrived, a crowd had formed near the edge of the dirt road, standing in a loose circle, frozen in place. In the middle of the clearing lay a chimpanzee, not moving. She was enormous, bigger than any female I had seen in years. Her chest rose slowly, unevenly, as if each breath required effort. Dust clung to her dark fur. Her arms were spread awkwardly at her sides, fingers curled inward, twitching only once every few seconds. Then I saw her belly. She was heavily pregnant. The silence that followed that realization was absolute. No one spoke. No one stepped closer. Some of the villagers backed away instinctively, fear cutting through their shock. Others stood with their hands over their mouths, unable to process what they were seeing. A pregnant chimpanzee had collapsed in the middle of their village, and she was barely alive. I knelt several meters away and studied her carefully. Her eyes were half open but unfocused. There was foam at the corner of her mouth. Her breathing was shallow and rapid. Heat radiated from her body, but her skin beneath the fur felt wrong. Too dry. Dehydration. Exhaustion. Possibly infection. And something else. Her abdomen tightened suddenly. Her body jerked, and a low, broken sound escaped her throat. It wasn't a call. It wasn't aggression. It was pain. The villagers gasped as one. "She's going to die here," someone whispered. I raised my hand slowly, signaling everyone to stay back. A chimpanzee in this condition was unpredictable. Pregnant, weak, cornered. One wrong move could turn panic into violence. But she didn't react to us at all. She was fading. I reached for my radio and called for immediate veterinary backup, requesting a transport unit and pregnancy support. The response came quickly, but they were at least 30 minutes away. The road was bad. The terrain worse. 30 minutes was a lifetime. The chimpanzee's breathing worsened. Her fingers dug into the dirt. Another contraction hit, stronger this time, rippling visibly across her abdomen. Her head rolled to the side, and her eyes fluttered. Then they closed. The crowd murmured in fear. She fainted. I moved closer now, slowly, carefully, speaking in a calm, steady voice she likely couldn't hear. I checked her pulse. It was there. Weak, fast, dangerous. She was pregnant, collapsing, and labor might have already started. This wasn't just a rescue anymore. It was 2 lives. I signaled for water, clean cloth, anything people could bring. Villagers hesitated, then rushed to help, fear giving way to urgency. Someone brought a bucket, someone else a blanket. A woman stepped forward, shaking, holding a cloth in her hands. As we worked, I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. Fresh scratches along the chimpanzee's arms, deep, defensive. She hadn't just wandered into the village, she had fled. From something. Another contraction hit. Her body arched weakly, then went limp again. A low groan escaped her chest, barely audible. I pressed my hand against her side and felt it. Movement. The baby was still alive, but the mother was slipping fast. If the veterinary team didn't arrive soon, we would be forced to make an impossible decision. Right there in the middle of the village, surrounded by terrified witnesses who had never imagined seeing something like this. A giant, pregnant chimpanzee, unconscious at their feet, and no clear way to save her yet. The chimpanzee's body stiffened again without warning, her abdomen tightened hard, and a deep involuntary sound tore from her throat. The villagers stepped back in panic. Someone shouted. Another person crossed themselves. I raised my voice, firm now, cutting through the noise, ordering everyone to stay where they were. She wasn't waking up. Her eyes remained closed, her breathing broken and uneven. Sweat darkened the dust clinging to her fur. I pressed my ear closer to her chest and listened. The rhythm was wrong, too fast, too shallow. Another contraction hit, stronger than the last. Her fingers clawed weakly at the dirt, leaving thin lines in the ground. The movement was slow, almost delayed, like her body was trying to function without enough strength to carry out its own commands. The baby shifted violently inside her. I felt it again under my palm, unmistakable. Life fighting to stay where it was safest. The realization tightened my chest. If the mother lost consciousness completely, the baby could suffocate before help arrived. We had no stretcher, no medication, no sedation, just minutes slipping away. I ordered clean cloth placed beneath her hips and asked for shade to be built using sheets and wooden poles. People moved faster now, fear replaced by instinct. Someone brought a fan. Someone else poured water carefully over her arms, cooling without shocking her system. Her mouth opened suddenly, gasping. Then nothing. For a terrifying second, I thought she had stopped breathing. I pressed my fingers against her neck and felt it, a faint pulse. Still there. Barely. The crowd fell silent again. A woman stepped forward from the edge of the group, elderly, thin. Her hands trembled as she held out a cloth soaked in water. She didn't speak. She just knelt and placed it gently against the chimpanzee's head. The gesture broke something in the air. Others followed, quietly, respectfully. We weren't villagers and animal anymore. We were witnesses to a life failing in front of us. Another contraction hit. This one was different. Her lower body shifted slightly. I saw it then. Fluid, unmistakable signs that labor was advancing whether she was conscious or not. "She's giving birth," someone whispered, and she was doing it alone. I checked the road again. No dust, no engine, no help yet. If the baby came now without medical support, without the mother awake, the chances were devastatingly low. I leaned close to her face and spoke, steady and urgent. I didn't know if she could hear me, but I spoke anyway. "Stay with us. You're not alone. Don't go." Her chest shuddered. A weak sound escaped her throat. Her eyelids fluttered, just once. Then her body went heavy again. The crowd gasped as her breathing slowed even further. We were running out of time. And if the next contraction pushed the baby into the birth canal while she was unconscious, there would be nothing we could do to save either of them. The dust at the far end of the road still hadn't risen. The village stood frozen, watching a pregnant chimpanzee fight for two lives, without knowing if help would arrive before both were lost. The dust finally rose at the edge of the road. At first, no one noticed it. All eyes were locked on the chimpanzee's body, on the shallow rise and fall of her chest, on the terrible stillness that followed each contraction. Then someone pointed, and a murmur spread through the crowd like a breath returning to lungs that had been holding air for too long. The vehicle came fast. When it stopped, the veterinary team jumped out before the engine was even off. Equipment hit the ground. Orders were shouted. The crowd parted instinctively, making space. There was no panic now, only urgency. "She's pregnant," I said immediately. "Unconscious, active labor, severe dehydration." They were already kneeling beside her. An IV line went in. Fluids began to flow. Oxygen was placed carefully near her face. One of the veterinarians checked her pupils, then her pulse, then the movement in her abdomen. "The baby's alive," she said, "but we're late." Another contraction hit, violent and sudden. The chimpanzee's body arched weakly, and for the first time she cried out, raw, broken, unmistakably alive. Her eyes snapped open in panic, unfocused, wild. She tried to move. Hands steadied her gently. Voices stayed calm. The medication began to take effect, pulling her back from the edge just enough to keep her present, not enough to stop what had already started. There was no time to move her. The decision was made in seconds. The birth would happen there, in the village. The crowd stood in absolute silence as the veterinarians worked. No one spoke, no one filmed, no one turned away. Even the children stood still, sensing that something irreversible was unfolding in front of them. The chimpanzee screamed again, louder this time, her strength flaring briefly, desperately. Her body shook. Sweat soaked through her fur. Then, with one final contraction that seemed to pull everything she had left from her chest, it happened. The baby emerged, small, motionless. For one terrible second, there was no sound at all. Then the veterinarian cleared the airway and rubbed the tiny chest firmly. Once. Twice. A sound broke the air. Thin, high, fragile. A cry. The village exhaled as one. The baby moved weakly, arms twitching, mouth opening and closing as life rushed painfully into new lungs. He was alive. The mother collapsed back into the dirt, breathing hard, eyes half closed, her body shaking with exhaustion. Fluids continued to drip. Her breathing slowly steadied. She was alive too. 2 lives, saved in the last possible moment. The baby was placed gently against her chest. Instinct took over. Even in her weakness, her arm curved around him. Her fingers closed protectively, pulling him closer. Her breathing deepened. Her body relaxed for the first time since she had fallen. Some people cried openly. Others covered their mouths, unable to look away. No one moved until the veterinarians nodded. "They'll survive," one of them said quietly. "Both of them." A transport crate was brought in. Mother and baby were lifted together, never separated and secured carefully. As the vehicle pulled away toward the rehabilitation center, the crowd remained where it was, watching until the dust settled and the road became empty again. The village returned to its routine slowly, almost reverently. But everyone there knew the same thing. They had witnessed something rare, not just a rescue, but the moment when fear gave way to care and a giant pregnant chimpanzee collapsed among humans and lived because no one turned away when it mattered most.